Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room, everybody. What's going on? I'm Mistress Carrie. Welcome to the War Room, where we meet every Tuesday night at 8:30. And as you can see, in case maybe you can't see, my co-host, Wednesday, the Goth Pug, which is where you can find her on Instagram, has already begun knocking all the pillows off the couch. Welcome to episode 117 of Cocktails in the War Room. And I don't believe the pillows have stayed on the couch for one freaking episode of this show. In case you're new to the War Room, this is actually a room in my house that we call the War Room. And we started meeting here on March 14th of last year. And we did 80 nights in a row to help each other get through the COVID-19 lockdown, pandemic, recovery. And then in June of last year, after we launched the Mistress Carrie podcast, Cocktails in the War Room became a weekly show. And this is what we do. Every Tuesday night at 8:30, we get together here in the War Room. And Wednesday has always been in the War Room, easy for me to say, always been in the War Room with me. And that's why she has her own camera now. Right, Wednesday? Say hi to everybody. Come here. Come here. Come say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say hi. Tooth licker. If you are new to the War Room and you want to get caught up, go to mistresscarrie.com, go to my blog, and there is something that we affectionately call the dictionary that has all of the terms and inside jokes for us here in the War Room so that you can get caught up, because there may be some things like some people commenting on the ducking stingray, which is one of the toys, this thing right here, that Wednesday plays with when she comes into the War Room, because, well, you guys are amazing. And she's biting my hand. What are you doing? Why are you biting my hand right now? I'm trying to do the show. Now all of a sudden she's all wound up. I don't know what's going on. But one of the things we do in the War Room every week is we go through the mail call and look at the stuff that you guys are so amazing that you send me every week. And Wednesday gets more mail than I do most of the time. And that's where all these amazing toys come from, is because you guys send them to her. So, okay, I'm just going to leave the Pug Cam on because I don't know why she's so fired up, but she's completely fired up right now. Wednesday, get it. Get it. Give me that. She's very fired up because we got a bunch of snow again today. So if you're watching the War Room from somewhere outside of New England, there's a metric fuck ton of snow outside, which is, yes, a unit of measure that we use here in February in New England, because the snow is just at ridiculous levels. And Wednesday does not like deep depths of snow because, well, she's short and can get lost out there. Pardon me while I retrieve the pug toys. Yes, I'm getting your toys. All of them. All 3 of your toys. There you go. So she's very wound up right now. And also there's something going on with my hair. I don't know what the hell is going on. Are you kidding me right now? Seriously? If we were live on television and there were more than just crazy War Room family members watching Wednesday, you would have gotten the show canceled already. What are you doing? Okay, so what's going on, everybody? Now that we're already like 5 minutes into the show, how are you? Yeah, David, exactly. Biting the hand that feeds her. For shame. I turned the phrase dictionary. Yes, you did. And it is up on mistresscarrie.com so that you can, in fact, get in on all of the jokes. What's up, Annie Joan? Annie Joan chiming in the War Room tonight. I'm impressed. There are people in my family that are not technologically proficient. And when they're able to use technology in any way, shape, or form, they needed to be rewarded for it. So congratulations, Annie Joan. Keith says F-bomb. I know, we got an F-bomb in the first 5 minutes. So I want to welcome everybody that normally joins us here in the War Room. The people that have been here since March 14th for episode 1, they refer to themselves as the War Room family. If you are new to the War Room, we want to welcome you. So make sure you chime in on the comments and let us know that you are here in the War Room for the first time. I also want to thank Latini Creative Solutions for sponsoring this episode of The War Room. And I know that there are a couple of guys that are watching out in California right now. They are enjoying warm weather and they are sipping wine and eating steaks. So I want to say what's up to Captain P. And also congratulations to Master Funds, who retired from the Marine Corps after 30 years of service back in October. And they weren't really able to celebrate, obviously, because of COVID-19. And so they are celebrating Master Funds' 30 years of service in the Marine Corps tonight. So if I could get everybody in the war room to cheers to Master Funds and his retirement. Not sure what you guys are drinking, but anybody that is familiar with the war room knows that if they see a copper mug, that means I'm having my favorite, which is a Moscow Mule with 2 limes. So cheers to you guys. We want to say hello to all of the original gangsta members of the war room, of which there are tons. Keith, you know what the copper mug means. It means Moscow Mules tonight. Cheers to all of you guys. Happy retirement. Can we just plan a trip to Hawaii right now? I know, seriously. It's so cold out. There's so much snow. It's just absolutely brutal, which is why I look forward to the War Room every week. So this week in the War Room, we got a bunch of stuff, including my first story for the night. I will apologize. I had planned on bringing in some pictures to the War Room tonight, but I didn't have a chance to get them all put into my computer and get them all loaded up for you. But later on tonight, I'm going to make a couple photo galleries on this Facebook page. So if you're watching this video after the War Room was over on my YouTube channel, then go to my official Facebook page. And I'm going to put up some photo galleries. After the War Room last week, I took off. And for anybody that has a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass on Patreon, you guys know what I was doing, but I didn't want to tip off too many people because I didn't want my trip to somehow get screwed up. But after the War Room last week, after I got episode 35 of the podcast up and running, I ran to Logan Airport and I flew to Reno by way of Salt Lake City. And the reason why I did that, for anybody that has been through the last 11 and a half months with me here in the War Room, you know that my husband is active duty military and he has been deployed for over 4 months now. Well, we found out kind of at the last minute that he was going to be coming back to the States for work purposes, and that if I flew to Reno, I might be able to catch up with him for a little while. So, of course, after not seeing him for over 4 months, I took advantage of that. And I flew to Reno like 6 hours after we got out of the War Room, and was there for a few days and made it back in time to watch Tom Brady win his 7th Super Bowl. So congratulations to all of the former members of the New England Patriots on their Super Bowl victory, including the GOAT. And so I wanted to let you guys know that because every week when we get here in the War Room, you guys ask me how my husband is doing. And I can tell you for the first time in months that he's doing really well because I just saw him. So I was able to see him for a few days, which was fantastic. And I had a lot of downtime in Reno over those few days. So I was able to go and check out some things in Reno. I lost a little bit of money playing roulette at one of the casinos, which it's so crazy to go into a casino, like around a roulette table or around a blackjack table where the plexiglass partitions are in between all of the people playing at the tables and between all of the slot machines, which is really strange. But I lost a little money playing roulette. And then, let's see, I went to a place called the Geiger Trail, which is like the Geiger Overlook, which is an overlook that is up in the mountains that overlooks Reno. And it's really, really beautiful. I actually put a picture up on Instagram of some of the view that was there. Then I went on a ride to, I believe it was called Virginia Falls. And it was an old Western town and into this old cemetery that it was there from the 1800s with like wooden headstones. And these were the first settlers when they were expanding out west. And it was amazing that we just kind of bumped into this old cemetery. And so I was able to get a bunch of pictures of some old American veterans that were buried there. So I'll put all of those pictures up. And then I also went to the National Museum of the Automobile that holds the Harrah's car collection, the Harrah's from the Harrah's Casino. They are car enthusiasts and own a bunch of cars. And so they opened this car museum in Reno. And the car that Rose Dawson arrives to the Titanic on in the movie, that actual car is in this museum. One of Elvis's cars is in the museum, one of Sammy Davis Jr.'s cars, one of Frank Sinatra's cars. There's all of these amazing automobiles from literally the invention of the horseless carriage straight up through the 70s and 80s. And I took a bunch of pictures of some of the really awesome cars that were there as well. So I'm going to put those photo galleries up on this Facebook page later on tonight. Paula says, how wonderful that you made it. I'm sure he was just happy to see you in person. Honeymoon in Reno. I know, a belated honeymoon like 6 months after the wedding. But isn't that where Joe Dirt lived? It wouldn't surprise me if it was, because some of those towns out there are a little bit crazy. But thank you, Kimberly. Says cheers to me. I appreciate that. I just watched Titanic tonight, says Christina. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone, says Elsa. Can't wait to see them, says Jeff. Yeah, if you're a car person, some of these cars you're going to totally nerd out over. And I got to tell you that if you ever end up in Reno, you definitely have to go to the museum. They have all these different gallery rooms for all of these cars. But then there's all of these long hallways that are indoors, but they're made to look like American streets. And based on the era of the cars that are literally parked along the street, there's storefronts and movie theaters and gas stations that are built inside the museum. So it looks like you're walking down streets in the US with all of these cars. And obviously everything is a little bit strange because of COVID still, and they weren't letting that many people in the museum. But it was amazing. And if you love cars, some of the cars that were in there just were unbelievable. I took a picture of one of the first recreational vehicles, like one of the first RVs. And it was this old Ford that came with like 2,000 different accessories that you could buy. And it had these pop-out tents, but it was like from the 20s. It was insane. Wednesday. She's barking at the snow or something. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so I want to let you guys know that I went on a little bit of an adventure, which is why if you subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, that's why there was no sit rep on Thursday and Friday last week, because I wasn't here to produce them. Michelle says, hey, Mistress Carrie, I sent my sister a bag of dicks early for Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Here's a bag of dicks. By the way, your sister's going to find when she opens the bag and starts eating them that the dicks in the bag are delicious. So cheers to her. Elsa says, I cannot believe Tom Brady got 7 Super Bowl rings. I know, it's totally crazy. I was able to make it back and watch the game. I thought the Miley Cyrus pregame performance with Joan Jett and Billy Idol was really cool. I thought Green Day the night before did a really good job. The halftime show at the weekend I thought was a little bit strange. I don't know what kind of restrictions they gave him because of COVID, which maybe is why they didn't build the stage midfield like they usually do for the Super Bowl. But it was definitely a more subdued Super Bowl halftime show, which was kind of disappointing. I thought maybe they would go over the top with it because they knew so many people were kind of stuck in the house. But I thought the Super Bowl halftime show was okay. Then I watched Stephen Colbert later that night so that I could watch Metallica perform Enter Sandman from Metallica HQ, which is the first time that those guys have played in the same room together in a while, which I was hoping we were going to get some kind of announcement because Metallica has been hinting that they've been working on new music. And I was kind of hoping we were going to get some kind of announcement about a new song or a new album or something. But at least we know that they're now playing together at Metallica HQ, which means that they're also working on new music, which is pretty awesome. Wednesday, come here. Really? All the famous broadcasters from back in the day, they never had to deal with this kind of stuff. They never got interrupted by their dogs. The production value in Cocktails in the War Room has just gone down significantly. So how are you guys doing? How was your week, your Super Bowl viewing? How did you fare with all of the snow? I obviously am incredibly happy because I got to see my husband. So I really can't complain about too much. I know that the News is crazy right now. I know the weather's been kind of sucky and the Super Bowl's now over. Yesterday was truck day. So for anybody that is outside of Boston, I know a lot of people think it's ridiculous, but I think now more than ever, we need to find joy in the little things. So for anyone that's not from New England, truck day is the day that the Red Sox equipment truck rolls out of Fenway on its way to Fort Myers for spring training. And it is the official start of baseball season for us. And kind of, we don't need a groundhog to tell us that spring is coming. We use truck day to kind of gauge that. Yesterday was truck day, so at least we know we have baseball on the horizon. So happy truck day to you guys as well. Ash says, I won $200 in a football pool. I saw a guy, he flew to, I think it was Colorado, so that he could log online and place a bet. And he bet the spread of the Super Bowl and won like $3 million because he bet that Tampa Bay was just going to annihilate Kansas City. And they did. And the guy won like $3 million in a bet, which was amazing. Then I heard rumors that the guy that streaked at the Super Bowl, there were some things going around online that he bet a bunch of money that there would be a streaker at the Super Bowl. And he's the one that streaked. And I think it cost him $1,000 to get out of jail. And he won like $374,000 because he bet that there would be a streaker at the Super Bowl. And then he paid $1,000 to get himself out of jail. So streaking actually made him like $370,000. If it's true, if you can believe what you see on the internet. Eric says, truck day, Red Sox, Fenway, bring it on. I know, exactly. Truck day helps me know that spring is coming, says John. What happened to your WAF flag? Oh, the mic flag? I still have it. If you're talking about the mic flag, I have it downstairs. But I always have the Mistress Carrie mic flags now because, well, WAF is no more. I do want to tell you guys that it does sound like the big gig is in fact going to get postponed once again. I do not have a rescheduled date. I don't have any more details on it. But of course, the 50th anniversary for WAF, the big gig, was supposed to happen last April at the DCU Center in Worcester. And it was going to feature Godsmack and Hailstorm, Theory of a Dead Man, Dirty Honey, Dinosaur Pileup. Then it got postponed, obviously, to April of this year because of COVID-19. Now it looks like the big gig is going to get postponed again. So I don't really know what's going on with it yet. So as soon as I get some details, I will let you know. Let's see. So funny. The truck took over 20 cases of bubble gum, says Diane. I know. They chew a lot of gum. They eat a lot of sunflower seeds. Wednesday, will you come over here, please? Come over here. Stop your barking. I'm trying to get her squeakers, but none of them squeak anymore. Here she comes. We'll turn the Pug Cam back on. There you go. Why are you barking? Who are you barking at? Huh? Who are you barking at? Come here. Seriously, this is my life. I sit here and drink with you guys every Tuesday and play with my dog on the internet. And then she just took off again. All right. I remember when WAF interviewed the streaker from another Super Bowl, recognizing him at the hotel, says Eric. Let's see. Time to get my $600 back for that show, says Keith. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. Diane says, don't they have gum in Florida? I guess, but I guess the players have their own gum and they just want to bring their own gum with them. So there's plenty of gum on the equipment truck for the Red Sox. When I was flying, actually, I watched a few things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. One of the things I watched, I was digging through the on-demand stuff on the flight, and I went back and watched the documentary 4 Nights in October, which was about the last 4 games of the ALCS in 2004. It made me hate A-Rod all over again. And it's been how many years now? 17 years. And I got mad at A-Rod all over again for knocking the ball out of Bronson Arroyo's glove running to first. Got upset all over again, but it was really cool to go back and watch that again. One of the other things that I watched a documentary called Rebuilding Paradise, which is a documentary by Ron Howard. If you guys have a chance to watch it, Paradise, California was a community that was completely decimated in the Camp Fire in 2018. They lost 87 people in their town. And the documentary shows footage from the actual fire and the people that were running for their lives to escape this insane fire. They talked to meteorologists and the firefighters that were there fighting the blaze about how the fire happened, what things led up to it. And then it documents the town's rebuilding over the next year and what those people had gone through. And I just thought it was a really interesting documentary. And so I wanted to tell you guys about it. It can be a little heavy at times. Like I said, they lost 87 people from their town, and watching people just lose everything, lose their homes, live in shelters, try to figure out where their kids are going to go to school, living in campers. But there was also some amazing uplifting moments as well. And especially how the people in Paradise, as they've been rebuilding their lives, have been giving back to other people affected by other natural disasters now that they've lived through one themselves. So if you get a chance to check that out, definitely check it out. It's called Rebuilding Paradise. And then I also watched that Britney Spears documentary, Framing Britney Spears, about her conservatorship with her father, Jamie. Crazy. About the whole conspiracy that Britney Spears is being held against her will. Just a crazy, crazy, crazy documentary. So I wanted to tell you guys about those because I watched them over the last few days. Let's see. Carrie, when is the anniversary of AAF? I believe the actual anniversary is in March. We had done some research and figured out, based on a newspaper article that was announcing that WAAF was becoming a rock station, I believe they actually flipped the switch in March of 1970. No. When did they flip the switch? Yeah, it was 1970. Because it was like 5 weeks after the original Black Sabbath record came out. But our anniversary party was going to be in April, and the actual anniversary of AF going off the air is going to be on the 21st of this month, which I cannot believe it's like 12 days from now. I cannot believe that this has gone on for a year, that the station's been off the air. I know we talk about this all the time here in the War Room about how strange the passage of time has been with all of the lockdowns and everything, that on one hand, it seems like it was yesterday, and on the other hand, it seems like a whole lifetime ago. But yeah, the actual anniversary of AAF going off the air is February 21st of last year. So, Melissa, I think you're right. I think it is March 23rd. I'm not 100% certain, but I believe it is. Keith says, yes, 1970 to 2020 was 50 years. So this would have been its 51st anniversary this year. What's up, Fernandez? Cheers to you. Guys, can we get another cheers? Speaking of retirements, Fernandez has worked in many different capacities in service to this country, both in civilian ways and also in military ways. And Fernandez just celebrated his total retirement. He retired from the military a couple years ago, but all of his other civilian jobs that he's been doing in service to the country, he just retired. So if I could get you guys, I believe it was 31 years. So cheers to Fernandez for all of his service to this country, not only in and out of military uniform, but he has given so much, and it's one of those accomplishments like Master Funds that you wish you could have a big party to commemorate a huge occasion like retiring from a life of service, and it's hard to do that right now. So cheers to you, Fernandez, and thank you for your service, and thank you for everything that you've done. We all love you. We're going to need to get together and drink some sangria, I'm just saying. And for anybody that doesn't know, that's new to the War Room, Fernandez makes the best sangria on the planet. Yeah, exactly, Keith. More time to make sangria. He's retired now. He has no excuse why he's not just in the kitchen cutting fruit constantly. All right, so I want to talk to you guys about episode 35 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. I want to thank my sponsor every week this year, Digital Federal Credit Union, DCU, a proud sponsor of the Mistress Carrie podcast, and I am honored to have them sponsor the podcast every week. Episode 35 of the Mistress Carrie podcast featured Mike Mangini from Dream Theater, and it was a little bit different of an episode because he did the interview for the podcast from behind his drum set. So he was able to give me real-time examples. Yes, this is my impression of Mike Mangini. To give me real-time examples of what he was doing behind the drums because he was sitting behind his drum kit and it was all mic'd up so that he could talk me through his drum process. Melissa says, very informative, loved it. Do you have a link to Fernandez's sangria? Trina, I do not. We did give out the recipe, and I know that you guys, somebody's got it saved. So if somebody has Fernandez's sangria, can you copy and paste it in the comments? I know that we've done it in the past, but I don't have a link for it. I should probably just put it up on mistresscarrie.com. But Wednesday, we're trying to do the show in here. Can you knock it off? Come over here. Come here. Why are you yelling at everyone? It's not nice. Yeah, Wednesday's having a moment. I know she is. I don't know what's going on. Slow getting caught up with the podcast. I know, Jeff, it's tough, especially when they're long. But when I'm talking to people and they're not in a rush to go anywhere, I'm going to keep talking to them. Ron says he has it to private message him and he'll hook you up. I wish Fernandez would sell it, says Danielle. I know, seriously. Like, we need to, now that he's retired, we need to get him into the sangria business because it's delicious. Mark says she's feisty tonight. I know. Joe says Wednesday, meatloaf. Oh, man. Sidekicks going off on their own, says Joe. I am very well aware. Annette says that was a super podcast and Mike is so crazy, like in a beautiful mind kind of way. It seriously is unbelievable talking to him about his process, right? And following his logic about how he is able to get his brain to do the complicated equations in mathematics, to be able to do the complicated drum rhythms that he does, and then to be able to control all four of his appendages, to be able to do these things that are in his head. It's crazy. Melissa says, Daddy's Junkie Music, way throwback. Let's see. Favorite episodes, Mike Shue, Kevin Barbary, and LB were on. I know, and I'm trying to get all of the old AAF people on the podcast slowly but surely, but you guys can appreciate that I want the podcast, obviously, to be more than just reminiscing about WAAF, which I could spend the rest of my life doing because I enjoyed every minute of my 29 years there. But also moving forward, I can tell you in some upcoming episodes, I'm going to be introducing you guys to some more new bands, which I'm really excited about. But I also love being able to keep you guys in touch with the artists that you already know and love, like Mike Mangini from Dream Theater. One of my favorite things was Mike talking about a conversation that he had with Eddie Van Halen about Nuno, after we referenced my interview with Nuno about his stories about Eddie Van Halen. So if you haven't gotten if you're not caught up on the podcast yet, I love how the episodes are starting to intermingle and that former episodes are coming up into newer episodes and other people are commenting on them, like Kevin Martin from Candlebox talking about Eddie Van Halen, and then Nuno and Mike Mangini talking about what Kevin said about his collaboration with Gary Sharon, and just, it's all starting to feed into itself now, which I absolutely love. Justin wants to know when Sully's coming on. Sully and I am not even kidding, have been playing phone tag since before Christmas. He's doing a lot right now. The band is working on some stuff right now, and he is coming on. He promised me he was going to come on. He wrote the theme song for the podcast in the War Room, so he's definitely coming on. It's definitely going to happen. I just don't know exactly when it's going to happen yet. I can't wait to see the art from the drums that he did. Danielle, if you go to the podcast episode, either on mistresscarrie.com or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, on Apple, Google, all of that stuff, there is a link to the art. And it's really crazy. If you missed the episode, Mike Mangini was talking about how he went into this photography studio and they gave him drumsticks that were lit up like lightsabers almost. And they asked him to play these rhythms with these shutter speeds of the camera. And Mike was doing beat per minute calculations with the shutter speeds. And they were able to photograph him playing the drums with these illuminated drumsticks. And it's these crazy swirls of light that show the track of his movements when he plays these drum beats. And it's really cool. When is the slumber party with Danielle? I don't know. Danielle and I have gone back and forth multiple times about not only getting her on the podcast, but getting her here in the War Room as well. What about Portnoy? I would love to have Portnoy on. As a Dream Theater fan, I understand how difficult it can be for a band to lose a member and replace a member. It's one thing if that member passes away. It's another when they leave the band. So I can understand how there are people that, want to get on the Van Halen argument of Sammy or Dave and the Dream Theater argument of Mangini or Portnoy. I've just known Mike, like we talked about in the episode, for like 25 years. And I just think he's just an amazing guy. He's incredibly interested. He's so humble and open and honest and giving. But I'm open to having pretty much anybody on the podcast. So if Portnoy wants to come on, I would love to have him. I also want to have Steve Vai on the podcast, which Mike Mangini used to play drums for. So I would love to have him on the podcast just because I've been a fan for so long. So, the longer the podcast is around, the more artists that I have contact with, the more artists that want to come on. So all I can tell you is that there's some amazing interviews coming up on the podcast that you guys are going to absolutely love. George says the 6 degrees of Mistress Carrie. Exactly. Portnoy's making a new album, which is going to give me a really good. Are you talking about Sully or Portnoy? Sully is making new music. And pretty much every band is making new music right now because there's nothing else to do. Ralph, thank you for the reminder. Mary Wilson of the Supremes died. I believe they had 10 number one songs. That's just the number ones. She's an absolute legend. Comes from that time, the heyday of Motown, when a lot of those Motown artists just did really... we talk all the time about the artists now and how they're not adequately compensated when it comes to streams. A lot of those Motown artists did not get compensated fairly for the success of the songs that they released, and the Supremes are one of them. But absolute legends. And when it comes to female artists that were able to just explode, the Supremes are right up there at the top of the list. Groundbreaking artists. And so cheers to Mary Wilson. Thank you for all of the amazing music. Eric says, slumber party with Danielle with drinks provided by Fernandez products. Yeah, I know. Oh my God. Me and Danielle together, drunk on Fernandez's sangria. Elsa says Ozzy should be on the podcast. I would love to have him on. And there's actually some Ozzy news coming up when we do the music headlines as well. Let's see. Al Barr or Kenny Casey should be all-time faves. I would love to have those guys on. Absolutely. So, we had Scruffy on from the Shadows of Boston and formerly of the Dropkick Murphys. I'm open to pretty much anybody coming on the podcast as long as they are open to the conversation going wherever it goes. I don't want anybody coming on the podcast. It's like, I don't want to talk about this and I don't want to talk about that. All of the conversations are just these stream of consciousness conversations where I can ask any question I want. And I love that. And that is something that is going to happen on this week's podcast. Now, I will tell you that episode 36 of the Mistress Carrie podcast is a little bit different. I interviewed her several times on my radio show at WAAF, and I thought this would be the perfect week to bring her back because it's Valentine's Day week. And I know guys don't even want to hear about the Hallmark holiday that is Valentine's Day, but I thought this year more than anything, last Valentine's Day, we really didn't know what kind of a lockdown and weird life we were all going to have because of COVID-19. You've been locked in the house. You have been wearing sweatpants every day. Your kids have been home, and everyone's relationships are a little bit strained and odd and disrupted. And so I thought that I would bring Dr. Sadie Allison onto the podcast this week. If you don't know who she is a doctor of human sexuality, a legitimate, real sex expert and doctor. She is a CEO. She's an entrepreneur. She's sold over 2 million books. And she prides herself on empowering women, especially, to be able to find their orgasm, which is her specialty. And she, like I said, she's come on the podcast or on my show several times. So when I called her up and said, hey, I want you to be my Valentine's episode, she said, absolutely. So this isn't quite the mail call, but she was like, I want to send you a bunch of stuff for Valentine's Day. So she sent me some of her books. And if you've never seen any of Dr. Sadie's books, they are short reads. There's a lot of illustrations, but her books include Dr. Sadie Allison's Tickle My Tush, Undercover Clitoris, Tickle His Pickle, Tickle Your Fancy, Ride 'em Cowgirl. She is very upfront, very open, very honest, and talks about things in a way. It's almost disarming because you're talking about things that are so personal. But this isn't just a conversation just about sex. We had a great conversation about how parenting styles are changing because parents have a lot more access to their kids in the house because they're at school at home. How to have difficult sex conversations with your kids. Having those conversations about giving them healthy advice about self-pleasuration and teaching them the things that if you don't teach them, they're going to learn from their friends or learn from the internet and porn. She also talked a lot about some of the trends in sex toy sales and in porn since COVID, which I thought was really interesting. So she sent me some things. She has a new line of CBD personal lubricant that she sent me. She sent me a bunch of other stuff. I don't know if the kids are watching the War Room tonight, but she sent me literally a box of stuff. So thank you, Dr. Sadie. So I wanted to have her on this week to talk about Valentine's Day. I do not want to give it away, so I'm not going to tell you. I don't even want to hint because I don't want to ruin it. But one of the things that I asked her about was the role of music. And she started talking about all of the different senses and how they play into having a healthy relationship with your partner. And when we started talking about music, she started talking about some of the music that she finds the sexiest. These are artists you know. One of the artists in particular is going to shock the hell out of you. You're going to think of a specific person when she tells you this. And that's all I can tell you because I don't want to ruin it. But we had a great conversation. She's incredibly informative. Like I said, she is a doctor. And so she looks at things in a very matter-of-fact and scientific way. And her website is unbelievably informative. You can access all of her different books. She has a blog. It's called ticklekitty.com, which is her company. And so she, Dr. Sadie Allison, is episode 36 of the Mistress Carrie podcast that goes live at midnight tonight. So happy Valentine's Day. And it's not just for the ladies. We talked a lot about maintaining a healthy physical relationship in a long-term relationship, in a long marriage, and also as you get older and what some of those complications may be for women as they get older and also men as they get older. So it's definitely a well-rounded conversation. It's not a he-man, woman hater kind of a conversation, and it's definitely not a male bashing conversation either. David says, Carrie went from a bag of dicks to a box of them. I love that. So yeah, enjoy this week's episode. It's definitely a little something different. Like I said, I try to mix the podcast up. I don't want it to just be one thing or another. In the next few weeks, I'm going to introduce you to some more new bands, which I'm really excited about. And there are some other artists that are going to be coming on the podcast that you are extremely familiar with. And when I get to the point where I can announce those, I will definitely let you know. Now, speaking of Valentine's Day, if you go to mistresscarrie.com, go to my blog, I actually released yesterday just a cool Valentine's Day Spotify list as well of some not so love songs that is up there to help make your Valentine's Day a little bit better, especially if you're spending it alone. So go to mistresscarrie.com for that. Now, speaking of the podcast, if you subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, you also get the situation report, which you get every Monday through Friday, unless I take off to Reno unexpectedly to see my husband. And the sit rep is all your rock news, music headlines, and industry info in less than 5 minutes. And it basically just gives you all of the headlines and everything that you need to know while you're sitting in the drive-thru in the morning getting your coffee. You can get filled in on everything that's going on. And it's a super easy way to kind of get into podcasting if you don't have time to listen to these long interviews all at once, that you can listen to the sit rep and at least know what's going on. And if you're wondering where you can subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, this is just some of the 60 outlets that you can get it now. Apple, Google, Spotify, radio.com, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer, Overcast, TuneIn, Player FM, Pandora, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Amazon, our friends in India on JioSaavn and Ghana. Now, the Mistress Carrie podcast is also a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network, which means that they are podcasts for music lovers, which I know you guys are, and they are adding new music-related podcasts all the time, which I think you guys are going to love. So there you go. Dr. Sadie and I would get along very well. I am way too blunt about sex talk, says Brianna. And it's not even that she's just blunt, is that she's talking about it in a very scientific manner where it's just very matter of fact. And she believes that the key to having a long and healthy life is that all of the aspects of your life are positive and that are functioning normally. And she views a healthy sex life as something that's incredibly important for people to have a long and healthy life. And so she wants everyone to have an amazing sex life. I also talked to her about how she got into it in the first place. And I'm not going to give that story away, but that's also in there. Once again, as I switched over to the Pantheon Podcast Network over the new year, we normally keep track of all of the countries where the Mistress Carrie podcast is. As of right now, it still stands at 98 countries, but I am expecting to get some new demographic information very soon about the podcast. Let's talk about some music headlines because there's a lot going on. They announced today a documentary called Long Live Rock. And the world premiere is going to happen on March 11th. And it is a documentary that's been in the works for the last few years about rock music and about the relationship between the artists and the fans and the importance of going to live concerts. And it's ironic that this movie is coming out now when we haven't had concerts in a year. But basically anyone who's anyone in rock and roll, everyone from Metallica and Slipknot, Godsmack, Hailstorm, Korn, Greta Van Fleet, Shinedown. I mean, the list of bands that have been interviewed, Rage Against the Machine, Machine Gun Kelly. I mean, it's insane, the list of artists that took part in this documentary. It comes out on March 11th. If you go to the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com, I put it there. The streaming of the movie on demand is like $9.99. And just the trailer, which is also up on the website, looks really, really good. So I wanted to pass that along to you. It's called Long Live Rock, and it comes out on March 11th. And if you go to the events calendar on mistresscarrie.com, you can get more information. Ozzy Osbourne confirmed that he has not gotten the COVID-19 vaccine as of yet, but he is going to get it as soon as humanly possible. Of course, Ozzy turned 72 at the end of last year, and he also has emphysema. So he sees it as a matter of life and death that he needs to get the COVID-19 vaccine because he is scared to get the virus. So Metallica reissued their albums on vinyl at Walmart. And this week, for the first time since 2011, when they started charting vinyl sales again, Metallica has all of the top 5 albums in the vinyl chart. They're the first artist to ever do that, which is really crazy. And so all of the Metallica vinyl is out right now if you want to go and get that. And of course, Metallica, like we talked about earlier, was on with Stephen Colbert Sunday night post Super Bowl, and they are all rehearsing together in Metallica HQ, which is huge because that means that they're working on new stuff in person as well. The news keeps rolling about Marilyn Manson. Not only did he lose his record label, but his longtime manager has also resigned. Evan Rachel Wood, if you missed what's going on with Marilyn Manson, came out and finally confirmed what has been rumored for the last few years since she testified in front of Congress about being a victim of sexual abuse, that she named Marilyn Manson as her abuser. Since that happened, Dita Von Teese has come out. Now, she's Marilyn Manson's ex-wife. She said that he was never that way with her, but that they got divorced after a year of marriage because of infidelity and drug use. Rose McGowan, who was also in a relationship with Marilyn Manson, said she is supporting Evan Rachel Wood. Trent Reznor has come out and basically agreed with Evan Rachel Wood, saying that there's a reason why he has been estranged from Marilyn Manson for a couple of decades. Let's see, a member of his road crew came out and backed up Evan Rachel Wood. I mean, it's gotten pretty crazy with what's going on with Marilyn Manson. Now, Evan Rachel Wood also had to file a restraining order against Marilyn Manson's wife. He got married last February, and according to Evan Rachel Wood, Marilyn Manson's current wife was threatening to release naked photos that were taken of Evan Rachel Wood when she was plied with alcohol and drugs and while she was underage. And she was granted that restraining order. And one of the other people that came out against Marilyn Manson was also Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit, who toured as Marilyn Manson's guitar player for a while. So it's pretty crazy what's going on. I thought this was really interesting. If you were watching Tom Brady's Instagram stories after winning his 7th Super Bowl, it seems that Tom Brady is a POD fan because the song Boom showed up in his Instagram stories, which is pretty cool. I talked to you guys already about the Framing Britney Spears documentary that was done by the New York Times. It's very interesting if you haven't watched it. I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but this Free Britney movement is very interesting and intriguing. Not so much for me for any other reason than usually conservatorships don't function the way that hers does. And it's interesting that she is being allowed to perform and make all of this money, but not make decisions for herself. And it goes into a lot of what was going on at the time. It definitely doesn't make Justin Timberlake look very good. So if you haven't watched the documentary, you can watch that. Brian Head Welch from Korn's other project, Love and Death, has a live stream coming up this Friday, which is also on the events calendar of mistresscarrie.com. And also one of the Pearl Jam hometown shows that they did in Seattle, that live stream is happening this Friday as well. And that is also up on mistresscarrie.com. Let's see. Anthony says, Carrie, I love you. Thank you. Trent Reznor hasn't talked to him in 25 years, says Eric. I know. And he issued a statement saying as much, that they've been estranged for a very, very long time, and that it didn't surprise Trent Reznor to hear these stories about Marilyn Manson. So yeah, it's just really odd. Yeah, I mean, I've told you guys my stories about Marilyn Manson. I always knew that he wasn't normal, quote unquote, like he's Marilyn Manson. However, I had no idea, the famous Marilyn Manson story, the Blair Dick Project story that I told you guys, was while he was married to Dita Von Teese, because Dita Von Teese was there. She was on the bus with us when that story happened. And so, I don't know, it's just very, very strange and odd. And I feel bad for everyone involved. And, Penny, thank you for the reminder. Corey Feldman also came out accusing Marilyn Manson of emotional distress and abuse. And also that Manson, who is fascinated by all of these 80s pop icons, that he was trying to get Corey Feldman to give up his years of sobriety and snort coke with him. And so Corey Feldman came out and didn't have a lot of nice things to say about Marilyn Manson either. Let's see. Yeah, I know that Marilyn Manson's in the intro of the podcast. And it's a very, I've been a fan for such a long time, and I hate that this is all now. Yeah, it's just, it might be time to redo the intro of the podcast, Does it change your opinion now? Well, of course it does. Last year we got a lot of these conversations about Tommy Vext from Bad Wolves and how his ex-girlfriend got a restraining order against him. And I've always been someone that has been a proud feminist, that has always encouraged women to use their voice and to come forward and to be believed. I'm not someone that believes there are more women out there making false accusations than there are women that are being abused that we don't hear from. I'm someone that definitely believes that even when women come forward, they're villainized and they are put through the ringer in court, and then usually their abusers go free. I think they said something like 1% of rapists actually serve time in jail. Any kind of assault or abuse changes the woman's life more than it changes the man's life, unless he actually goes to prison, which is 1% of the time, because the woman, the most intimate details of her life get turned inside out and used against her. How she was dressed, what her former partners had to say, why was she drinking or on drugs, why was she walking alone, why was she doing this, why was she doing that. I'm also a firm believer in innocent until proven guilty. And so with a situation like this, where there haven't been formal charges, but so many people are speaking out against him, it makes me sad, because now that Evan Rachel Wood has been strong enough to name her abuser, all of these other people are coming out saying, yeah, we knew, and we just didn't say anything. And that makes me feel really bad that, I never saw anything like that with him. So it's not like I was keeping this secret or knew that this was going on. I just knew he's weird. But he's Marilyn Manson. Of course he's weird. But it does change my opinion. And, I have a lot of guy friends. I am fortunate enough where I am surrounded by amazing men. And I spend a lot of my time talking to those men about what life is like when you look through a woman's eyes at the world. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't learn these lessons until they have a beautiful daughter, which is why on the podcast, I always joke about Rockstar Revenge, because the world looks a lot different when you look at it through your daughter's eyes or your wife's eyes. And, now that it looks like these accusations are being backed up by other people, I don't know if formal charges, criminal complaints, or anything are going to be filed. I know that one of the things Evan Rachel Wood was testifying about a few years ago was statute of limitations, and that sometimes it takes women years to be able to go through counseling and to be able to muster up the courage to be able to come forward and tell their story, because they know how the world is going to come after them about why they were with the person and what they were doing. And sometimes those statute of limitations expires, and then there's no charges that can be brought. I also want to bring something to you guys' attention as well, because this comes up a lot, and I had done some research previously, and Massachusetts was still one of the states. I'm not really sure if it is anymore, but there are states that force visitation for convicted rapists that father children through their rape. And that visitation, that state-given visitation, is used as a negotiating tool. So, for example, if a guy rapes a woman, the baby that is created is now physical evidence of the assault. The rapist and his lawyer or her lawyer will then use the leverage of visitation being allowed to the rapist as leverage, saying to the mother and the victim, if you drop the rape charges, I will sign away my parental rights. So now this woman has to make a decision between pressing charges against the person that assaulted her, but then getting a life without having to interact with that rapist to try and co-parent with them for the rest of her life, or press charges, put the guy in jail, and then have to share custody when he eventually gets out, because they all do. Massachusetts used to be one of the states that had visitation for rapists, and they're not the only one. So it's a very complicated issue. I know that there are so many, I mean, they say like 90% of assaults never even get reported, and then only 1% of them actually turn out to a conviction. Keith said, it happened to my sister-in-law. It took her daughter being abused by the same person that abused her. I mean, it's such a complicated issue, right? And it goes into other things, because it goes into things like abortion rights, where if a woman, heaven forbid, gets raped in a state where then she is going to be forced to give visitation to the rapist, she's going to be re-victimized again. So it's like, this is a domino effect, and it's incredibly complicated. And the fact that Evan Rachel Wood has been dealing with this so publicly for so long, she was 18 when they started seeing each other. And while she's a legal adult, the age discrepancy was pretty significant. It's very complicated, but it does really hurt me as a fan, because I have been a Marilyn Manson fan for decades. I've just always loved his music, and it's just really hard. So I'm not really sure how to feel about anything. I mean, on one hand, it's like, if you stop listening to the music of every single person that's ever done anything wrong, half the rock stars that we love have shaded pasts. I mean, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle. Ted Nugent became a woman's guardian because she was underage. It's like, there's all kinds of stuff, shady things in artists' past. Although this happened in more modern times. And obviously Marilyn Manson, by the way, has come out and said that the accusations against him are false, and that all of his relationships have always been consensual, which is what his statement said on his Instagram. So, Trina, thank you for sharing your story. It's a long comment, but it takes a really strong woman to be able to talk about this kind of stuff, because like I said, once a woman comes out and talks about abuse or assault or rape, it's like that's the only thing that she doesn't exist in any other way. That's the only thing anybody ever wants to talk about. It's what everyone's thinking when they're looking at her. I know women that have struggled with coming forward and talking about, just once you make the decision to talk about it, it's like that's all you are, and that women don't want to be defined by what was the worst day of their life, or the worst experience of their life, or the worst relationship of their life. So all I can say is, to believe people when they come forward and tell these stories, because there's no upside to it. People have made these comments before that, they're trying to get famous or whatever. I don't know any woman that has gotten famous because she made a sexual assault allegation. People get famous from porn, but they don't get famous for rape. Monica Lewinsky got famous for consensual sex, and it ruined her life. She was vilified by the First Lady of the United States at the time. There's just a lot. So all I can ask of you guys is to just lead with empathy and love. And more often than not, the people that are making the accusations are telling the truth. The percentage of false accusations is very small. So that's what's going on in music. I want to remind you guys about this because it expires this weekend. Our friends at Canty's Canine Kitchen that make those amazing all-natural dog treats, they were generous enough to give everybody here in the War Room and everyone that listens to the Mistress Carrie podcast 15% off of everything until Valentine's Day. So if you want to buy your best pal, your furry friend, a little Valentine's Day gift, you can go to cantysK9kitchen.com, use the coupon code Carrie15, and you get 15% off everything that you buy until Valentine's Day. So there you go. Use it up because it expires after this weekend. All right, mail call. No, we're not going to go through everything Dr. Sadie sent in the mail, but I did get a couple amazing things in the mail that I want to show you guys. If you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, we did the tour of MCHQ, and one of the things that I showed on the tour was that the Mistress Carrie logo was carved in plexiglass on the desk in my studio. And I was talking about how I want to put a light behind it so that the logo glows underneath the desk. And I got this from Melissa. It says, in case you need to cut and splice the LED strips. And Melissa sent me LED strips to light up MCHQ. Since Maddie, Blake, and Kevin Barbary and everybody's been making me so jealous with lights in their studios. And this is for underneath the desk. And she sent me all the accessories and everything to wire up the studio so that I can put some awesome lights in there. So Melissa, you are a badass. Thank you very much. And then I also got this card. It's got a dog on it. You know I love it. It says, thanks, you're so doggone nice for all that you do. My husband makes these snowmen, paints it, and I do the rest. And I had to get this soap, love, Carol. So Carol and her husband made me a little decoration for the house. And it's perfect because it's freaking snowing outside. It's made out of wood. And they made this little purple snowman for me, which I think is amazing. So thank you, Carol and husband. I think it's awesome. I was going to put it back here. There. But I didn't want to give it away until we did the mail call. And then the other thing that she got me, which I thought was hilarious, is this limoncello soap. And guys, I got to tell you, it smells just like limoncello. Like, taking this in the shower, I might never get out. It smells so good. Oh, so good. Limoncello soap. Who knew? So thank you, Carol and husband. Okay, just want to fill you guys in. A reminder about the Valentine's Day playlist in the blog at mistresscarrie.com. Also, the events calendar is getting filled up with live concerts and the Long Live Rock documentary and all of that other stuff. So that's all in there as well. And also, the online store. All of the orders are shipping really quickly when you make an order on the website. Hey, shush. So we're getting the order shipped out very, very quickly. So you can go to mistresscarrie.com, get your cocktails in the War Room gear, pint glasses, shot glasses, beanies, hoodies, all of that kind of stuff. It's all up there. So that's the addition to the website. If today is your birthday, happy birthday to you. You share it with legendary songwriter Carole King, Rachel Bolan from Skid Row, and also Dennis Thomas, the lead singer of Kool and the Gang. And it was on this date in 1964 that the Beatles first appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, which is a huge milestone in rock and roll. So cheers if today's your birthday. Fantastic cocktail. Once again, I want to say hello to everybody that has a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. One of the things that you get when you get a Backstage Pass is we started doing exclusive live streams every month. We did the tour of MCHQ in January. It was great. And we're going to start doing one a month with just a private live stream to talk about whatever. Everybody that has a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass also got this month a discount code to get $5 off of every beanie that is for sale on mistresscarrie.com. And also, it's just a way for me to keep in touch with you. I was putting up pictures and kind of letting everybody know that I had Backstage Passes, how my trip was over the weekend with my husband. And also, I am still offering up a huge Mistress Carrie prize pack to the person that is lucky enough to get backstage pass number 100. So you can either go to patreon.com/Mistress Carrie or just click the Patreon logo on the website at mistresscarrie.com and get yourself a Mistress Carrie backstage pass. I want to also remind you guys, because we've been talking a lot about Valentine's Day, that if you are looking for a last minute Valentine's gift, if you go to the Cameo app and you search for Mistress Carrie, I can make you a custom Valentine's Day Cameo video for a special person in your life. Your husband, your wife, your kids, a long lost military friend, a relative that lives far away, an ex-boyfriend, whoever it is. If you're looking for that Valentine's Day gift that's a little bit out of the ordinary, that's different than roses and chocolate. If you don't know what Cameo is, it's an amazing service. It's an app that allows you to get custom videos made from all different people, athletes, actors, influencers, soap opera stars. I mean, there's just a whole crowd. Mike Mangini is on there. There's just a ton of people that are on Cameo. And I made my videos really affordable. And with Valentine's Day coming up, it might be a great excuse for you to get a Cameo video for somebody that you love. Or if you don't have a Valentine, get yourself a Cameo video where I can just talk about how awesome you are for a couple minutes, and then you can put that up on your Facebook page. So the video gets made and gets sent directly to you, and then you can post it on your Instagram, on your Facebook, like put it up wherever you want. You can use the audio to be your voicemail. I mean, whatever it is that you want, you get the video sent right to you through the app. So here's where you can find me on Twitter at Mistress Carrie, on Instagram and Facebook, where you are right now, at Mistress Carrie WAF, and then on TikTok, Cameo, YouTube, and Patreon. Just look for Mistress Carrie. And of course, all of the links are on mistresscarrie.com. So there you go. Happy birthday to everybody. I know that Valentine's Day can suck for people. This year especially, there's so much isolation, and it's hard to date. I feel bad that I'm happy right now because I just got to see my Valentine, but I had to go to Valentine's dinner like a week and a half early because my husband's already gone again, but at least I got to see him. But I know what it's like to be alone on New Year's and to be alone around the holidays and to be alone on Valentine's Day. So check out episode 36 of the Mistress Carrie podcast with Dr. Sadie Allison. Try to find a way to be happy this weekend for Valentine's Day. And just know that your family here in the War Room will be here next Tuesday for episode 118 of Cocktails in the War Room. So cheers to you guys. I will see you guys next Tuesday. And of course, episode 36 of the Mistress Carrie podcast shows up at midnight. Good night, everybody.